Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Uvasyayanam, Namo Loe Sawa Sahunam, Eso Pancha Namukkaro, Sawa Pavakpanasano, Mangalanam Cha Savesim, Padamam Havai Mangalam, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Jai Sachidanand. Jai Sachidanand, everybody. We are shortly back to a very pious time of Mahavir Jayanti, birth anniversary of Lord Mahavir. And on this pious time, we have wonderful session about life skills. Dear friends, life is really very long actually. People say life is short. But 80 years, 90 years, 100 years, or minimum 60 years in common, if we can say. To deal with this journey, one requires some particular skills because this journey is full of various types of circumstances, and to deal with different circumstances, if we have certain skills, it becomes very easy for happy and successful life. So to deal with this topic, I invite Shaila Mulji ma'am. She is from USA. She has been very close to the enlightened ones, Dada Bhagwan and Gyani Purush Sri Kanu Dadaji. She has authored very wonderful books. She has translated Dadaji's science and spread it worldwide. So hers is a great contribution in spreading this holistic science of Dada Bhagwan. We cordially welcome you, Shaila Mulji ma'am. Over to you now. Thank you very much.
Jai Sachidanand Chandrakantji. I want to say you make me sound really great, but actually I'm just a humble mom. and life has not been an easy road, but thankful to all of you for the opportunity, and Dadaji for all his grace, and all of the friends and family and extended friends and family, the Mahatma family that we have, that has really helped to guide all of us on this journey. Living and existing on this planet at this time, it's like a double-edged sword. It's so amazing, and yet at the same time, it's so incredibly challenging. So if you don't have the tools, it can be very, very difficult. So that brings us to the topic of life skills. Nehaben Gandhi, she had put together the presentation, and I think she got the presentation from the World Health Organization. So I love that she did that, because it was basically all the pieces of what you need for life skills in life. But since we have such a nice small group, I would like to take a different approach to this presentation. Rather than just talk about the life skills that we need, if I could start with you, Chandrakantji, and ask each of you what your top 3 life skills you have that have allowed you to flow through your life and come to this point now, like you were saying, that you are very happy thanks to Dada Bhagwan and you have a wonderful life. What are the top 3 life skills that you would say, just 3 things, that simple words that come to your mind?
Yeah, participants, you can unmute and share your views.
Well, I'm going to start with you, Chandrakantji.
Okay. For me, there are so many skills. As a human being, Lord Krishna was very well versed in 64 skills that time, long back. So all the 3 types of main skills can we call uh, our inner skills, emotional skills, thinking skills, and skills related to some talent or professional skills, which can help one to undertake this journey smoothly and to have some resources. So mainly social skills, emotional skills, and thought skills or inner skills. According to me, these are the main category, and there are so many sub skills.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And is it, let's see, we have Mr. Mukund Soni. Would you
Yes,
be so
Mukund Soni.
kind as to share?
Jai Sachidanand.
Jai Sachidanand.
I was not able to understand the question, but I think it's something like, what is a life skill? That is what I need to tell. Am I correct?
What are your top three skills that have gotten you to the point you are now in your life?
Okay. The three skill what made me to be like what am I are compassion, love,
Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
and ability to understand the pain of others. That's what I would say. Empathy or sympathy, whatever.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
These are the three skills, because I'm a teacher.
Right.
So my profession needs or requires these three skills in a great manner. Moreover, that I do work somewhere where we have the students residing in our school only. So my role is like that these three skills are very useful to me.
Of course, you're playing the role of a parent, a friend, a teacher. You're playing all the roles because they are living there with you.
I think yes, correct. So some or the other way we need to play such role. And thank you for listening. Jai Sachidanand.
Thank you for sharing. I really love your answers. Thank you, Jai Sachidanand.
We have one more person from the field of education, Dr. Manoj Kale from Modasa, Ahmedabad. And he has very rich experience. So, Professor Manoj Kale, will you please unmute and
Yes.
tell us something about life skills? Which life skills made you so successful?
Thanks, ma'am. Thanks, ma'am. Actually, experience it. Then you will understand properly. So, in my case, like if you see, if we can understand from the nature also, a river will not drink water. Tree, it will not eat its own fruit. Like that. So how nature is working for other, we have to work for other. That is a life skill. And if we work for other and each person think like that, so everyone will work each another, and the world become very beautiful actually.
Right. Thank you, sir. Dr.
Wonderful input. Thank you so much. Yeah, you gave us a lot in those words that you just said. You touched on nature and how we have to actually experience what we learn. And thank you so much for sharing, Ji. Thank you. Thank you, Manoj. And I wanted to ask Miss Rani, what are your top three life skills that have gotten you to where you are today? Thank you for joining, Ms. Rani Ji.
Thank you. I would say for me, I think, one life skill that actually they taught us later in school was active listening. That I thought was it has been very helpful throughout my life, career, home life. And so when I think of life skills, I like to think of things that are that help you in all aspects of your life. And so I think that is definitely active listening is one. The other I would say is when we even think about like breathing exercises for releasing stress, for becoming present, there's a technique that you focus on your senses, like 5 things you can see, 5 things you can hear, to bring you into the present moment. I also think that one is very useful. And the third one is about aligning your priorities in life with time management. So, I mean, very old, but Franklin Covey, I don't know if most people on here remember Franklin Covey, but I thought Mr. Covey had a lot of really practical life skills that, you know, help you in all aspects. He talks about social, your emotional life, your mental, and your physical, and kind of planning time management around that. So I've always felt that I took a course on that a long time ago, but I felt that was one that has lasted with us through
Oh my gosh, you gave
all
us
the
some
life
real big nuggets there. I feel like we're already covering the presentation here, Ms. Rani, but thank you so much for sharing, because those are huge. All of them are huge. And then Nimish and Bino, would you be so kind and share?
Sure,
Dr. Nimish, Jai Sachidanand, Bino, Jai Sachidanand.
The only thing that, I mean, I feel like you guys have covered the main topics already. But the only, like, my instinct that came up as soon as you said that was just basically, you know, what our environment kind of provides to us. And so the first thing I could think of is just what my mother lives like, what my
Your
father
beautiful mother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What I learned from my father, and then what I learned from my Guruji and the environment that I was provided. And so the first thing is just trying to do things with sincerity, with heart. And then the other thing is just to be available, and trying every day just to be present by accepting. And that I feel like when I sincerely and presently approach that life in that way, things tend to kind of fall, and I realize that they're exactly where they need to be.
That everything's in divine order, being present in the moment.
Yes, it's exactly what we need in that moment.
Yeah. It's not the easiest one to accomplish, but if we are keenly aware of it and we practice a lot of what Rani was saying about, you know, being the mindfulness, naming 5 things and just putting yourself present in the moment with some of those tools, it, you know, and we all have to practice it. Our attention spans are being scattered incredibly. There's just so much noise we don't hear that hits our psyche on a constant basis. You know, with the cell phones, TV, radio waves, you know, we've got just so much sound that is inaudible to our physical ears that is hitting our brain. So, and that's why it becomes so difficult. But yes, those are wonderful, and I love the sincerity, because that was the first one when I asked my sister. I was asking everybody because I thought this was a really tough presentation to do. So I was asking my parents and my siblings and everybody. But you guys are giving, you know, all the answers that everybody is saying, and that is going to bring me back to the presentation is great, because it talks about categories, but I don't want to give you just a bunch of categories, because this anything we attend, we're investing our time, and every time you invest your time is something we can never get back. So I wanted you all to get something tangible from this experience, and that's why I started this way, because it was honestly really difficult for me as well. So anyway, Jason, to that, and Dr. Nimesh, you got anything to add?
Yes, Sachidanand.
So
just for me personally, just, you know, based on the way Nimesh is, not necessarily everybody. For me, I think one thing is introspection. That's helped me a lot, just to kind of to tie back to some of the earlier comments. You know, reflecting on the experiences we have and just trying to digest what happened, how was my reaction to it, you know, what I can learn from that, I think has been something very important for me. Another thing is perseverance. I think we all face a lot of challenges, and we need to figure out how to move through those and move forward in life. And then the third thing is really, I think through this holistic science, one thing that's been critical is discrimination between relative and real, and taking that and trying to adapt that, and then tying back to the first one, being able to introspect upon how that distinction, what is really important, and then tying to the second one that helps with the perseverance aspect.
Oh my gosh, you just brought in all of that as science and put it in a nutshell. In a nice little nutshell. Thank you so much, Jason Tidana. Pritiben, would you be so kind and share? Okay. And Miss Sureka? Do you have any input on your life skills that have carried you? Okay, it's fine. If you choose not to participate, I respect that. And then Kokila Vala? Then I'm going to proceed and go through the different elements that by the World Health Organization, the life skills that we need in order to live our best life as the best version of ourselves. Life skills are abilities for adaptive and positive behavior that enable individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. Life skills are abilities that facilitate the physical, mental, and emotional well-being of an individual. So the key word is well-being. So when we think about well-being, we think about 4 aspects of our being, which is emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. The 4 main pillars upon which our life experience is based. So according to WHO, there are 10 essential life skills: problem solving, critical thinking, effective communication, decision-making, creative thinking, building relationships, cultivating self-awareness, cultivating empathy, managing emotions, and management of stress. And our participants have already touched on a lot of the wonderful qualities that we cultivate throughout our lives that basically enable us to be good problem solvers and think critically and effectively communicate, make sound decisions, be creative. So I'm going to proceed and just kind of go over this presentation. This is a very broad topic. It's not an easy topic. So if anybody wants to interject anything, wants to share anything, please feel free, okay? I would actually love it if you did. So problem solving enables us to deal constructively with problems in our lives. Significant problems that are left unresolved can cause mental stress and give rise to accompanying physical strain. Now, I can speak for myself. For me, I would have to say problems are something that in this day and age, in today's world that we live in, no matter what stage of life you are at, or whether you are socioeconomically at a higher level or a lower level or mid-level, no matter what your background or education level, problems are something that arise for us every day. And I have noticed that if I personally do not take care of my own physical health, I don't listen to my body, and I don't listen to the needs of my mind, then the day starts breaking down pretty quickly. So as Dr. Nimesh was saying, part of the morning ritual for problem solving throughout the day is what you do in the early morning hours of the day, and just setting up yourself and your emotional and mental well-being in such a way that no matter what comes up throughout the day, that we are able to effectively deal with it. And that includes our physical health. Because, as we're getting older, a lot of us, we're noticing that the body is much like a car. It starts breaking down. It changes. It requires different care. So you have to modify and listen to your body. And that comes back to active listening. As Raniji was mentioning, we have to actively listen not only to others, but also to our own heart, our own mind, and our own body. Okay. So does anybody have anything to add about problem solving or any experiences they can share that might be beneficial to the group?
Well, ma'am, I remembered a quote on this. A problem is a chance for you to do your best.
I love it. Thank you. So the next one is decision making. What is decision making? The ability to assess the available options. And, we did our presentation on the antakaran, the mind, the intellect. The intellect is how we're able to assess available options. Our intellect will show us the pros and cons. And then through our own experience that we have had internally, we're able to foresee some of those consequences of decisions that we make. For example, we lost a wonderful soul this week. She was 92 years old. And I had gone to see her literally a couple nights before she passed. She passed yesterday morning about 5:30 in the morning. And she would not let go of my hand. She was clasping my hand so tightly. We call her Dolly Ba, but her name is Lakshmi Ba. And she was holding my hand so tight. So the caregiver was there. So I asked the caregiver, like, is this normal? She wasn't able to, she normally, when she sees me, she'll talk to me. Her hands were all clenched in tight fists. Her whole body was tight. And I thought something is wrong. So at that point, because what I had seen of her before, what I was seeing, I immediately asked her, has the doctor seen her? Has anybody talked to her? And I reached out to her son, and I had to take some action at that point because of the situation, because it wasn't natural and normal for what I had experienced with her before. So in that, I'm grateful that the decision I made was a sound one, because thankfully, even though we took the necessary actions, she was 92, she was suffering, and she was in her home, in her own bed, and she peacefully passed away that night. And, I can honestly say I was very close with her. And the time she was passing, my eyes were still closed and I was praying. So I know that she had a nice passing. And it gives me so much peace in my heart to know that. So, it brings us back to how being present, listening, and really being where you are is so critically important, not just for ourselves, but those around us. Actions versus non-actions. At that point, because I had said something to my brother-in-law, he made the calls, and we were able to rally everybody and get everybody that needed to be here where they needed to be. So, and no decision is also a decision. And, that brings back to me a saying that Kanudada would always say, to speak is a single fault and to not speak is a double fault. And I would never want to be in that position where I was in a situation and I didn't say something. So, and my job puts me in a position. I'm a life agent. I do life insurance, and I love what I do, not because it's a morbid thing, talking about death, but more because I get to talk to people about who they love and who they care about, and why they would want to make sure that they were okay. So I take a different approach to my role as a life agent. So anyway, moving along. Anybody have anything to add about decision making? Any experiences they've had? So decision making, major life decisions. Somebody I asked, my husband's auntie and uncle were visiting, last weekend, and they're 70 plus, and they wanted to go on the San Andreas Fault Jeep tour. Believe it or not, these people are 70 something and they wanted to go on a Jeep tour. So I asked her, and she's a very bright and beautiful lady, and she gave me this answer. She said, you know, the most important thing in life is mind mapping. And I had never heard that term. I've heard of where you're brainstorming, but brainstorming, she explained, was for others, whereas mind mapping is for you. So she says you need to set goals: personal, family, financial, spiritual, 4 pillars, according to her. Her name is Hansaben. So she said you have to set goals and then make that your focus and decide what you need to do for each of those. Your personal growth, family relationships, your financial health, and your spiritual health. And so we were able to, I've never heard of mind mapping, but it really made a lot of sense to me that if you take the time to do that, and just write down what you're doing, then you can even take baby steps towards achieving your goals, personally, family-wise, with your relationships, financial and spiritual. And, you know, our choices of lifestyle, if you're a student, your study habits, as Mukunji was saying, you know, food habits, you know, he's able to, as a teacher and a resident teacher, you know, you have some amount of ability to observe how even food habits are impacting your students, sir. So, and hobbies. What do we, how do we choose to use our free time? You know, Kanudaraji would always talk about free time. How much free time do we have here in the US? You know, he used to call this place Bog Bhumi, because really it is a Bog Bhumi. Life isn't easy here. It's very difficult to earn and you know, earn a living and live the lifestyle that is provided to us here in the US. But most of us, we are quite capable, and we've been very fortunate at what they call punyashari. And so we have had the opportunity to live a pretty comfortable life, although we've all worked hard. Don't get me wrong, and we still do. But the free time and how we choose to make our hobbies is critical for as far as major life decisions. For me, just being involved in Dadaji's science and offering and sharing is my way of enhancing the life experience for me personally. Because when I connect with people like yourselves, like Rani, Dr. Nimesh, Bino, Preeti-Ben, and, you know, and some of these wonderful members of holistic science that are teachers, you know, I always come away with some really, really powerful nuggets. So, but then the next one is vices. We all have them. And unfortunately, the world we live in, because we are in this global corporate world, the corporate market has literally hijacked people's minds, not necessarily their hearts, but their minds. So harnessing and keeping our goal, clarity of thought about what is our life purpose and why are we here, is a big part of keeping ourselves aware of our own personal vices. Like, where do we tend to get stuck? You know, what tends to take us away from having a healthy inner world? All of those things, I think, are critical to examining on, and we owe it to ourselves to do that on a regular basis, to visit and take time out for ourselves. And then last but not least is career, decision-making as far as career. You know, for me, it's been we had a business for 22 years. We lost it in 2021. And I came back to my original career as a financial and insurance professional. And honestly, I feel like this is perfect for me. And if we just have a clarity of purpose of why we're here and what we want to offer ourselves and how we want to grow and what we want to offer others, then the right career choices will present themselves as well. And we'll be able to examine and come to an understanding of how best we can apply ourselves with the experience and the skill set and the education that we have. Okay. Creative thinking. I did want to share, as far as decision making, a little story about my dad. I asked my dad. My mom had her 85th birthday last weekend. We took her out, and I asked my dad his top 3 things, and it was so cute because he said, I married your mom. And I said, what do you mean? I asked you about life skills. He says, yes, I saw 100 girls, but I picked your mom. You know why? Because I wanted a woman who challenges me. I always pick the challenging from her. And I thought that was so cute because it was a big lesson for me in that he always challenges himself. He doesn't pick the easy road. He picks a challenging path. So, and his 3, his first one is that he always lived his life with no opinions, which is huge because that's like, that as science in a nutshell. You know, we're moving towards that, being present, not having opinions about people and things and ourselves, you know, that. And his third one was he's a minimalist. He truly, from the time he was young, believed that he didn't need anything in order to be whole, that he had everything he needs just as who he is, which is powerful. Anyway, I just wanted to share that little tidbit about my dad. Creative thinking. Creative thinking contributes to both decision-making and problem-solving by enabling us to explore the available alternatives and various consequences of our actions and non-action. How many of us have been in situations where, you know, you hit a wall? I kind of hit a wall with this presentation. I wasn't sure what was required of me. And so I reached out to my circle. And that's always a great way to do it, to get creative. But what I have found through data science is our creativity really opens up when we practice a lot of the principles that we've learned. And one of them really being about moving towards being opinion free and not judging others, not judging even ourselves, opens up a tremendous amount of space in our minds, in our hearts, and allows us to kind of connect the two so that we can become on the spot, in the moment, more creative, and our Shakti, our energy level, increases because we're not bogged down by opinions and judgments. We're able to rise above them to some extent and utilize our creativity. I know personally, even in my career, having to come back and go back into the corporate world and work with young people and their mindsets being so different, it's been challenging, but Dadaji's science and just allowing myself to be more of an active listener and accessing that space within me has allowed me to navigate that journey more creatively. Does anyone have anything to say about creative thinking? Anything that's worked for them that everybody would benefit from? Okay. Critical thinking, I think all of us have to employ it with our relationships, our careers, our financial situations, our friends and family, and the situations that we find ourselves in today's world. Critical thinking is an ability to analyze information and experiences in an objective manner. Critical thinking can contribute to health by helping us to recognize and assess the factors that influence attitudes and behavior, such as values, peer pressure, and the media. So, you know, we've all been faced with kind of mini and major shocks in our lives. Like Rani, I know you've had major like life experiences where you were in positions where you never thought you would be. Like, you know, with the pandemic that happened in Africa and then here. And so you had to employ critical thinking as a part of your role. And your role was impacting so many people. So at that point, the critical thinking, I think some of the things you mentioned, practicing on a regular basis, active listening, pranayam, utilizing your breath. And as desis, we're so blessed because we have so many tools. Not everybody has those tools, is what I'm realizing, because a lot of times I'll go to work and I'll wonder why people get so stressed about little things. But then I have to remind myself, you know, not everybody has the tools that we have been so graced with. And so a lot of times we have to kind of step back and observe, you know, read the room, as they say. Glad you joined, Mr. Gandhi, Jay Setchidanan. And so with the critical thinking, does anybody have anything that they can share that might be helpful? For me, I feel like I'm always, oh, go ahead, Dr. Nimesh.
And I was
Please.
going to ask a question, and maybe it's tied to what you're going to say is
okay.
related to the prior one too. Do you have any tips on how to stop overthinking? I think we also in this age, I mean, I know in school I was taught critical thinking is, you know, so important, but then you can take that to the extreme, and that's where the opinions come in and all of that. So do you have any tips to help with that?
Well, I know you're such a brilliant mind, and brilliant minds typically are extremely introverted. So, which is a blessing. It's a beautiful thing, but I can understand that it might cause you personally, you know, put you into kind of like a analysis paralysis kind of situation, overthinking and not being able to just enjoy your life, you know, and flow with the blessings that you already have, especially this beautiful Miss Vinol that you have with you, and enjoy your life together. So here's the thing. I tend to do that too. And especially when I go into rabbit holes about Dadaji's Gnan. And my sister, I have an older sister. A lot of people don't know her. She's brilliant. She's a microbiologist, by the way. She was going to be a doctor. She struggles a lot with her mental health. And recently she's been struggling a lot. And the reason I brought it up is because she reached out to me, and like you, she just overthinks. So I told her, I said, you know, one of the tools that Dada Bhagwan gave Mahatmas, and that will work even for anybody on this planet at this time, because it's a tough time to be on this planet, is whenever a thought comes up that really doesn't make sense, or is just really not agreeing with you, or you see something, even your reflective consciousness is showing you something that just is not adding value to your life, just say, not mine, not mine, not mine. And I made her say it out loud like 10 times. She called me back a few days later. She goes, it works. It works. So, you know, sometimes the simplest things, but keeping, of course, our guru and our spiritual understanding at the forefront. But it sounds like you have such an incredible inner understanding that with so much clarity and depth, if you could like do that for the stuff that doesn't really add value and doesn't, you know, tie into the eternal principles, the timeless principles, then that might help. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I hope that helps. You know, I'm not a Gnani Purush. I'm just a girl
No,
trying to get through life.
you're under, that's your humility. You have helped so many of us. So appreciate your
I appreciate that, Dr. Nimesh. Jai Satchidanand. Jai Satchidanand. You with your presence, you don't realize it, but we're all here together, and we all help each other so much. Yeah, you and Bino, you inspire me all the time. So anyway, moving along. So communication, that comes back. Oh, Rani, did you have a question?
Sorry. Well, more comment, just that this presentation is already very much really helping me. As you said, just, you know, I think finding yourself in difficult situations, I think all of Dada's teachings are what help us really, if you know, are the true life skills. And with Dada's teachings, one of the things that comes to mind is that wherever there is a problem, nature has a solution. And so I think for a lot of these, even with overthinking, and I think being, like you said, observing instead of judging, and also surrender, you know, like surrendering to Dada. Sometimes in my really hard state, I find that surrender is what then brings the solution to the problem. And it is the not mine, right? It's really saying, you know, like they have that, like, Jesus take the wheel. It's like Dada take the wheel kind of thing. And I think that's a big life skill, is surrendering. I think we don't do that enough, and that causes a lot of unnecessary stress for us. Thank you.
So as they
and
say,
your presentation's amazing.
Yeah, just the swaha, let it go.
Yes,
Thank you so
exactly.
much. Nagadada taught me the swaha because he would say it all the time. Okay, moving along. Effective communication. So effective communication. Would somebody like to read this slide, please? Anybody? Mukunji?
Jai Sachidanand.
Jai Satchidanand.
Effective communication means that we are able to express ourselves both verbally and non-verbally in ways that we are appreciate to our culture and situations. This means being able to express opinions and desires, but also needs and fears. And it may mean being able to ask for advice and help in a time of need. Jai Sachidanand.
Jai Satchidanand. Beautiful. Thank you so much. So I respect that, you know, there is a little bit of a language barrier. So effective communication is really a huge part from everything I've learned in life. And one of my biggest weaknesses is listening, because this one loves to talk. So, you know, one of the things I've learned is that we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I've really been working on listening more. And that has allowed me to become a better communicator. But I think just being able to observe our own selves. Hello, is that Dr. Iti? Jai Satchidanand. Dr. Iti Dayal, thank you for joining. Jai Satchidanand, thank you for joining. Nice to see you.
Same here, ma'am. Sorry for delaying joining this.
Hope all is well. So, effective communication. Yes, yes. Dr. Iti Dayal, we will want your input in a little bit, okay? So be ready.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So effective communication is verbal and nonverbal. And, you know, I was born and raised outside of India. And so it's taken me a little while to learn the different innuendos, cues. I work with a lot of different cultures, and you really have to read the room. Because even just looking at somebody the wrong way, or saying something that normally you would think would be normal and perfectly appropriate, can offend somebody quickly. So, and it all comes back to being present and listening and observing with all of our senses before we express an opinion or a desire or a need or a fear. I have found for communication, through Dadaji's science, the most powerful thing that has been like kind of like a revelation or an epiphany for me is being able to listen to your own speech. And the only way we can do that is if we're super present about what's coming out of us. And that has helped me avoid a lot of trouble, because I'm not going to lie, my brother used to call me Big Mouth when I was a little girl, and appropriately so, because I just felt the need to just say everything, very transparent. Even Kanu Dadaji told me, he said, please sugarcoat, because not everybody can handle the raw truth. So communication has been definitely a long journey. Does anybody have anything that they can share about communication? I know, Rani, there is, like, in today's world, even a text or a email, like, we have to be so aware and cognizant of what we put out, and even our thoughts. Even our thoughts are impactful to people. I've noticed that, I'm sure all of you have as well. Like, if you continually think negative about somebody, when you see that person, their facial expression will tell you that that's what you've been doing. You won't need to say anything to them because they'll already know. So I think really doing that inner work is going to help us to be better communicators, because we'll be more present for ourselves, and in turn, we'll be able to be more present for others. Okay. Communication skills involve active listening, which we've already talked about, written communication. In the court systems, they'll even look at people's texts, they'll look at emails, they look at even voicemails, they look at everything nowadays. There's so many ways of communication, but I think the most powerful is our nonverbal communication. And getting back to Kanu Dadaji's, he's done an entire series. Suresh Uncle has put together entire DVDs on this topic of Bolhu e single gunu, na bolhu e double guno. I hope I said that correctly. Anyway, to speak is a single fault, to not speak is a double fault. That had in today's world, because there is so much happening, and especially people like Ms. Rani who have had to deal with very critical situations, to not speak is a double fault becomes a huge area of concern, because when you're put in a role of position, you impact so many people's lives. And so even it doesn't matter if you're impacting your own life or 5 people's lives or 1,000 people or 50,000 or 1 million. It's critical that we don't fall into that fault of double, where we see something wrong or an injustice, even towards our own selves. In our culture, especially us women, we tend to put up with things that maybe we shouldn't in many cases. And so finding our voice and being able to communicate our needs and things that are not necessarily equitable and fair in a home is also critical. for our own well-being, as well as our behavior impacts our own children and our own families as well. So it's very critical that we do stay very aware of Wolwe single guno. I think he meant that if you speak when you're not addressed. I know for me that was a tough one too. What does that mean, to speak as a single fault? Is when you're just offering up your opinion and your take and creating gossip unnecessarily, and when it's inappropriate to speak. Does anybody have anything to say about communication as a life skill, or anything to add? Any comments that maybe would help the whole group? And Chandrakanji, please call me out on time. How we're doing on time?
Yeah, yes, fine, just fine. I
We're
remember
good?
after listening
Yeah.
to you, I remembered one thing.
Yeah.
It really is communication skill, even to say positively, to convey the negative sense, to convey something unpleasant in the pleasant manner is also a type of communication. Now, a small story goes like this. One astrologer appeared in the court of king. Two astrologers they were, and they were both very reputed. And after reading the king's palm, the first one declared, "Oh king, all of your relatives will die." And king became very unhappy and punished him for this rudeness or so-called proclamation. The another one was wiser. He read the same thing and he said, "Oh king, you are going to live long among all your relatives. Long live king," he said. The sense was the same, but the way of conveyance was different. So that is also part of communication, I think. Thank you.
Beautiful. I love it. That's a wonderful example. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's just highlighting, accentuating the positive in a situation rather than focusing on, oh my goodness, there's going to be so much pain and loss in your life. Yes. Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you, ma'am. Jai Sachidanand.
Jai Sachidanand. And self-awareness. And that brings us back to, I think this is probably the leader amongst life skills, especially in today's world. Self-awareness. Can somebody please read the caption about self-awareness?
May I, Jai Sachidanand?
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you.
Self-awareness includes our recognition of ourselves, of our character, of our strength and weaknesses, desires and dislikes. Developing self-awareness can help us to recognize when we are stressed or feel under pressure. It is also often a prerequisite to effective communication and interpersonal relations, as well as for developing empathy for others. Thank you, Jai Sachidanand.
Thank you, Jai Sachidanand. So self-awareness is a critical aspect of for anybody, regardless of whether you have had the fortunate experience of meeting a Gnani Purush and or not. I have found that self-awareness is probably at the top of the list as far as helping you to navigate through the many challenges that we all face in life. Being aware of our own character, our strengths, our weaknesses, our likes, our dislikes. I actually went through an exercise, not just for myself, but for everybody in my family, just penning it, writing it down, because it helps you to understand each other and yourself a lot better, to be aware. Because that when something comes up, then you'll just be like, oh yeah, that's one of their weaknesses. One of our sons went through a very, very tough patch. And so I had to kind of really examine, like, with this personality, what is the best way to deal? And I went through a course through NAMI, the National Association of Mental Illness, here in the United States. And the one key takeaway that I learned from this was to leap with people who struggle, especially that are extremely introverted. You listen first, which is the L. E for empathize. You empathize with what they are going through. You accept, so you don't try to contradict what they're experiencing. You agree with them, and then you partner. So you partner because at that point, that person is saying to you that you have accepted me and my thoughts and my feelings 100%, and now I'm ready to partner with you to how we can move through it. So LEAP was something that helped me so much to be more self-aware and put somebody else before myself. Because in today's world, we tend to be a me world. Everything that is available to us commercially, materially, is designed to enhance our physical, sensual experience. You know, if people have vices for gambling, they can find gambling online. If they like, you know, if they have a real keen interest in cars, they can find all kinds of organizations that specialize in cars. And, you know, you can go down anything that is of a tremendous interest to somebody that tends to be a vice for them. You can find it on this planet right now. So, and because that's what the internet did, it opened up the whole world like an oyster for everybody. And so having self-awareness really is finding out what your own mind, your own body, your own heart needs, and providing it first and foremost for yourself, and then being able to extend that to others. So without knowing your heart, a lot of people don't even know what's in their heart. And I'm in the life insurance business, so I have to talk to people. I have to get really close to people. And a lot of times I end up helping them to discover who it is they really care about and what matters to them, which is wonderful. But I find that people don't really take the time to know their own hearts. And it's so important to do that for yourself. So self-awareness includes knowing your own self first and foremost, your own desires, dislikes, hopes, dreams, your own heartbreaks, and how you can move towards wholeness and healing your heart. All of those things that can fall under self-awareness. Does anybody have anything to add about self-awareness? No? Okay. Our interpersonal relationship skills. You know, yes, sir, Mukunji?
I just want to ask, if you allow, please. May I ask something?
Of course.
Yeah. Can we relate self-awareness with self-remembrance?
That's a really good question. You know, because especially us ladies being mothers and wives and caregivers, a lot of our grandmothers, our ancestors, you know, there was the satis originally, like Parvati Ma, they sacrificed themselves. And Dada Bhagwan did not teach that. He taught us to fully validate and acknowledge and honor ourselves first before anybody else. And I think that's what you're referring to. Am I wrong, Mukunji?
No,
Is
please
to not
don't
discount yourself.
No, please don't consider yourself wrong. Go ahead. I'm learning and listening. Thank you.
No, I would like to understand what your question and if I was able to answer it, sir.
No, you answered it perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jai Satchidanand. So does anybody want to read the interpersonal relationship skills?
It's Jai Satchidanand. Interpersonal relationship skills help us to relate in positive way with people we interact with. This may mean being able to make and keep friendly relationships, which can be of great importance to our mental and social well-being. It may mean keeping good relations with family members, which are an important source of social support. It may also mean being able to end relationships constructively. Thank you, Jai Satchidanand.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, I really like that being able to end relationships constructively. So if we know that there are certain environments or certain individuals that are toxic to our well-being, are not good for us and our goals and our purpose in life, then there is a kind and very, very constructive way to remove ourselves from relationships that are detrimental to our well-being. And that's part of interpersonal relationship skills as well. But interpersonal relationship skills to me really means that to continually be validating of other people's presence and their value as human beings or even animals, to acknowledge and validate their presence. It doesn't have to be through words, but it's more from your heart that you acknowledge that, okay, this person is here, and try not to be a judgmental person, and whatever relationship it happens to be, to try to stay within your boundaries. It's very easy to cross boundaries, and I have found no matter whether it's a professional relationship, a personal, a relative, by reminding yourself what your relative role is, it helps you stay within your healthy boundaries with people. And one of the biggest things that it's important to work on is having boundaries in all your relationships, healthy boundaries. People appreciate when you don't cross over into things that maybe they don't want you to cross into. So, and that all comes back to being an active listener, observing, looking at body language, what people appreciate, what they don't. So interpersonal relationship skills, without them, our lives are very minimal, but I'll say that each and every one of us have them. And it's important to remind ourselves of our strengths as well as being aware of our weaknesses, because when you tend to amplify your strengths or the strengths of others, it helps them to grow and develop more strengths rather than focusing on the negatives or what is wrong about somebody or somebody's behavior or their attitude. I've found that really helps in building relationships, and really interpersonal relationship skills, the LEAP: listen, empathize, agree, and partner. Because the only time we really have to think about our interpersonal relationship skills is when we have a disagreement, when something is not flowing nicely and spontaneously between somebody. And of course, we all have perfect relationships, right? I know that is not true for me, even after knowing Dada Bhagwan for over 35 years. So we are challenged on a daily basis. And it all comes back to our relationship with number one. if we can be okay with number one, typically we're going to be okay with everybody around us. So does anybody have anything to add with interpersonal relationship skills? Thank you.
Mulji, I just have one comment about that.
Of course,
that I read somewhere, that more businesses and, workplaces are saying that it's not what you know that gets you promoted or gets you, recognized in the agency. It really is, at least in government, it's just like if you have good interpersonal skills, you don't need to know everything. You need to know who to go to, but they will consider you more valuable than if you're like the lead scientific expert on XYZ, because this is such a important skill in any like work organization, also in family life. But yeah, I've been seeing that over and over now, that they're saying it's not the technical knowledge, that it's more the interpersonal knowledge and skills that are valued in higher positions.
Thank you for sharing that, Raniji. It's critical, because if you don't have the ability to connect, interpersonal relationship skills are about connection. If you don't have the ability to connect with somebody, no matter how intelligent or how much knowledge you have about a topic, you're not going to be able to help them in your role, whatever role you happen to be playing. So, Jai Sachidanand, Lalabai Saheb, nice to see you, Jai Sachidanand. Not responding. Okay, we are moving towards time, so I'm going to move along here. Jai Sachidanand.
Jai Satidanand. Jai Satidanand.
So, empathy, I think, was in that listen, empathize, agree, and partner. So empathy, Lalabai Saheb, would you be so kind and read the empathy slide for us?
Now, please explain. The empathy is very important. Go ahead, please.
Can you read the slide for us, please?
Yes, I can read.
Okay.
Empathy is the ability. Let me read. Empathy is the ability to imagine what life is like for another person, even in a situation that we may not be familiar with. Empathy can help us to understand and accept others who may be very different from ourselves, which can improve social interactions, for example, in situations of ethnic or cultural diversity.
Perfect. Thank you. I think you came in at the right time. We would love to hear about empathy from you, because you're so good.
Hi,
You can share.
Empathy is a very important thing. It helps us to, especially in interpersonal relationships, and so put your shoes in the other person's shoes. They call it like that, no? Imagining, and we are able, if we are able to understand his position, right? It is somewhat different than the sympathy. Sympathy, somewhat it denotes some kind of a pity or okay. This is not so. It is on the equal footing, and if we are able to understand other a person's feelings and emotions and the situations under which he's or she is under present circumstances, that helps us in a very nice way to offer solutions as well as amicable relationships. Yes, that's what I think I understand by empathy. Shailaben.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And that's so true. And you're so good with that, Lalabai. You know, we never had time to sit together. We don't know each other. And, you know, we've connected. And that's because of your ability to empathize and understand us. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I think Raniji has to add something.
Yes, Ms. Raniji.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was just my hand up from the previous. I mean, I agree with everything you said also. And I too agree that Lala Uncle is one of the most empathetic people that I've never worked with face to face, but yes, same experience. Sorry, I will lower my hand.
Okay. Jai Sachidanand. Does anybody have an experience of empathy that they can share from their lives that has really allowed them? Gandhi? Haran Gandhi? Did you
Yeah.
have something you wanted to
Yeah,
say?
actually not me, but Neha will explain. She
Okay.
has some wonderful example to narrate.
Excellent. Hi,
Jai
Neha Ben.
Sachidanand.
Jai Sachidanand.
Hi, Jai Sachidanand. Shailaji, how are you?
Good, good, good. Thank you
Yeah,
for
actually,
asking.
empathy is quite better than sympathy, as Lala Uncle said, because we have seen Dadaji always behaving, because, to understand someone's problem, someone's point of view, and to act accordingly is really very amazing. And we have always seen Dadaji acting like that. So, during when means I did not have a long time with Dadaji, but whenever I meet or if we get confused or something, so he always asks us, "Do you have anything to ask? Do you have a question in your mind?" It means you need to ask something or something like. And then we sometimes ask our questions because we were very young at the time. We were the young girls, and at the teens we are having different problems. So he listens very carefully, very intentionally. He was listening. It was not like that, oh, she's a young girl and she's just asking me the question. It was not like that. He was a patient listener. He listens everything so very carefully, and thinking that he's at our age, he was giving the solution. So when, being a teacher, I have experienced many times that when we see that when some students are distraught or something, or they are not in mood, we personally talk to them and they literally share their problem with us. So patient listener is a part of this empathy. I understand this. Right. So this is the way, means instead of showing the sympathy, let us try to understand the problem of others and give them the solution. So maybe that person will get a better thing, better solution, and some better advice.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Neha Ben Gandhi.
Thank you, Shailaji.
Thank you so much.
Jai Sachidanand.
Jai Sachidanand.
Shailaji, I
So
think
we're
I got
moving
a
towards
question from iPhone, but I think they sent it to me instead of the group. It's
oh,
from
sorry,
the
I can't
iPhone.
see the chat because I can only right now. I haven't had a chance to look. Thank you.
Okay, sure. I can read this because I think it just went to me.
Okay.
Coincidentally, to me, empathy is an exact word which represents true style of repentance. Repentance or pratikraman is required when disagreements caused by us not being the knower and the seer, where we put blame on others and or lost the touch to feel their mental and physical agonies. Correct me, please. Love your presentation, Shailaji.
Who's that?
I'm not sure who that is. It just says iPhone.
Oh. Is that Krishna? Gati Krishna? Who asked the question, please? Or offered the information? Rani, do you want to answer the question? Please?
It was Raniji who asked the question.
Oh.
It's
No.
Benisha. Benisha, who I got another message, so I was reading. So
Oh.
Benisha is hard of hearing and she is reading the video in captions. Okay. So the question again, but Shailaji, I'll take a attempt at this. I think
Yes, please.
possibly Lalaji would have a better answer. But Benisha is asking, is empathy represents the true style of repentance? So when repentance or pratikraman is required when we disagree with someone, it's because we are not being the knower and the seer. And we end up putting blame on others and losing touch to feel their mental or physical agonies. So her question is empathy, really represented when we repent? And I would say yes. Benisha is asking, correct me, please, and love your presentation.
Oh, okay. Okay. Lalabai, શું કહે તમે?
Ha, empathy, Rani. Here, this is our day-to-day living question, and when you are empathizing someone, it is a life skill, a kind of life skill, a sambhave nikal kind of thing, right? Where, say, you try to understand other person's position, and without that, you cannot comply the agnya of that sambhave nikal also. Empathy is such a thing which helps us, right? So when exercising empathy, it's a natural thing, and it doesn't require any pratikraman or anything. It helps you to settle your karmic accounts also, because you are paying sincere attention to the other person who, as per the Dadaji's Gnan, you have it's karmic file relations, right? So no question of repentance comes. Say repentance comes only when you cease to be empathetic. This is what I understand, right? In my dealings, I have seen that absence of empathy is the thing which creates lots of problems for us as well as others, because you won't be able to find amicable solution unless you are empathetic, right? And with this Gyan of Dadaji's, it helps us a lot. It really helps us in cultivating this skill of empathy, and you will find that it solves so many life-related problems, right? So this is what I think. Benisha, does that clarify that? Okay, yeah. So Benisha is there.
Yeah.
And I think she's talking to Rani, right?
Yes.
And we have to understand, we have to empathize with them. No?
Yes.
That's a
She
communication.
says, oh, sure, it does. It seems you all agree as well. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Lalabai. Yeah, empathy, without empathy, we lose connection.
Yes.
That's our point of connection with others, is the empathy. Meaningful connection through the heart. I think the key is the heart, because if you don't use your heart, you cannot have empathy for another being.
You are asking some examples, no, Shailaben? I'll tell you. Just an example comes to my mind. Sure. Right. Long back, when my son, he is now 47, Bhagirath, he was hardly seven years old, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And when he came, he was in, I think, first or second standard. He came with a mark sheet. Okay, grade sheet. He said, Daddy, I got 16th rank. This real incident, okay. I immediately sensed, oh, he thinks the 16th is a great rank. The more is better. No, I could immediately understand that he understands that more is better. So I really joined him. I said, oh, you have done a great thing. Nobody in our family has ever achieved such a great rank. You see, you have not to be so.
Wonderful example.
That age, you have not to make him so serious about it. No, it has hardly any meaning. Rank for a 7-year boy, correct or not?
Right.
Helps me now, and this boy has traveled around 16 countries or even more than that, right? So if I become so serious and try making him serious, understanding the grades and the reverse grade is better, no, lesser is better, it would have serve no purpose, no.
You took him out of the competition race at an
Yeah.
early age. You did a good job. I love it. I love it. That's wonderful. Thank you for the example. Okay, so last but not least, we're moving towards the end of the presentation. I think we're 4 minutes, Chandrakanji, so I don't want it to go over time.
Yeah,
But I did want to touch on some of the things that we had already talked about for managing stress and tension and anxiety, getting back to the realities of our life and some of the tools that are available to us and that we can use. You know, the mind mapping, thanks to Hansaji, be a student of the universe was something that my husband's uncle said was one of his number one life skills. Always be learning, you know. If you keep an open mind and open heart and you're always learning, that's going to reduce your stress levels automatically because you're not going to be tense. Because when we're tense, we can't learn, we can't receive.
Yes.
Sincerity, I think, was a big one that was said by Bino. It's helped her through her life. If we just have clarity of our purpose and we use sincerity in our lives as a pillar, as a foundation, that will really help us to abate unwanted stress. Stress, you know, a lot of it is how you think about stress. Without stress, we wouldn't get out of bed. You know, there's a natural stress that comes with life. So if you view it as bad, it's going to become bad. But if you view it as a good thing, oh, I'm so glad that, you know, I had this early presentation. It got me up early on a Saturday. You know, I'm already up and running. And versus, oh my gosh, I had to get up early and I couldn't sleep in. It's really how you think of stress. If you have a good mindset about it, it becomes a good thing for you. A minimalist mindset is definitely helpful in this crazy world where people think you have to be a billionaire to be of value. That is not true at all. You do not have to be a millionaire. You don't have to be a millionaire or a billionaire. You don't have to have any amount of money. You have to really be connected to your heart and be a good person and have good, strong values and morals and ethics. And how you treat other people is what makes you valuable. So a minimalist mindset, like my dad, that was one of his top 3 things. He said, I told myself from a young age, because they had nothing when he was growing up. He grew up with nothing. They had to go pick cotton to get milk for their baby sister in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. They grew with nothing, but his mindset was, I am enough. What I have here, right here, is enough. So that minimalist mindset is helpful. Having clarity of your life purpose, being grateful, that was one of my top ones. I asked myself because I've been asking everybody else, you know, being grateful is a huge, huge helpful skill because it helps you to attract what you need in your life. Because when you're grateful, you get more of what you're grateful for. It's the law of the universe. You know, if you think about what you're grateful for, you get more of it. It's kind of a simple thing, but it's really helped me a lot in my life. Discipline, self-discipline. A lot of people said self-discipline. Compassion. One of our teachers mentioned, I believe it was Mukundji, that compassion has really helped him. My son, I asked my son, my oldest son, he's a lawyer, and he's working on cases for voting rights and legal gerrymandering, district lines, and he does all these big cases for the government. And I asked him what his top 3 was, and I thought he would be all fancy. But he said, Mom, empathy, kindness, and humility. 3 things have helped him to navigate his life journey. So, and radical acceptance. You know, when you don't accept, automatically your mind, your body go into a defense mode, and your cortisone levels start rising, your health starts depleting because you're in a resistance mode. So I think radical acceptance is huge. And last but not least, positivity. There's so many, and I'm so thankful to all of you. You've shared so much and helped me as well, for this ability to open up and help us to all have this be a shared experience. You know, one of the biggest things as a woman, especially, that has been hard, and of course it's difficult for men too. There are, I know, like Lalabai Sahib and Chandrakanji, you guys are very soft and komal personalities. You probably have hard time saying no too. But it's important to learn how to say no. If it's detracting from your well-being, you have to learn how to politely say, you know, no, thank you. I'm so sorry, but I can't. You know, avoid unhealthy situations. If you're around people that you know that no matter what anybody does, that they're on a derailed path and nothing you can do besides pray for them is going to help them, then you want to avoid those unhealthy situations and learn to ignore. And if you're in a situation where it's unhealthy in your own home and you're in a very kind of difficult environment, you have to find support and talk about your feelings with those that are trusted. A lot of times quietly just walking away from a combative, adverse situation will be the best solution for you. And choosing not to engage. You know, I have a lot of times in our office, we get calls all day long coming in, and there will be individuals who just need somebody to yell at. And so by just listening and receiving, and then quietly removing yourself, not engaging, is the only way to deal with that situation. Because if you know there's nothing else you can do, then that's your best course of action at that point. So it's really making a goal and a choice to protect your own well-being. And that means first and foremost, cultivating your well-being. And that all comes down to life skills. So we're almost at the end here. I know we're a little bit over, but can somebody please read this slide?
Jai Sachidanand.
Jai Sachidanand, Mukunji.
Managing feelings and emotions includes skills for increasing interlocus of control for managing emotions, anger, and stress. This may mean that we take action to reduce the sources of stress. For example, by making changes to our physical environment or lifestyle, or it may mean learning how to relax so that tension created by unavoidable stress do not give rise to health problems. Thank you, Jai Sachidanand.
Thank you for reading. Thank you so much. So, you know, that kind of covers a lot of what we've already talked about, is just making our own well-being a priority, validating our own feelings and emotions, learning to manage them and channel them in healthy ways, because even anger and other emotions that are unpleasant is energy. And so if you can learn to channel that energy to your advantage, for you, to make you a better, have a better life experience for yourself, then that's to your advantage. And fortunately, in today's world, we have so many tools that are available to us. And I think, like Dadaji always used to say, there's decision and there's decided. There's two things in life. So if your decision is well-being, what's already decided, which was what you've come with, your whole thing, package, then you will be much more effective in navigating that journey. And I think for the benefit of our teachers, and all of us are teachers to some extent, because we teach each other every day how to treat ourselves, how to treat other people. These are some enhancing life skills methods: discussions, debates, role-playing, brainstorming, storytelling, having games, working in small groups and pairs, simulations, songs and dance, our devotion, you know, all the wonderful events we've been having at Rani Amba and in Himmatnagar, at Dadaji's place, all the beautiful energy and vibrations that come out of that devotional aspects of song and dance, and by demonstration, by walking your walk and not just talking your talk, I think is the key. Making yourself accountable, self-accountability helps us to cultivate life skills. And last but not least, I think in every situation of life, we use skills. Thinking out of the box can often find a solution to a seemingly difficult problem. And by critical thinking, we can analyze all the pros and cons of any situation. Jai Satchidanand, I really appreciate everybody. And the participation was wonderful. Lalabhai Sahib, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you very much. I am sorry I had some guest and I could not join on time.
It's okay.
It is good.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you to everybody for joining and participating. Jai Satchidanand, enjoy your weekend. Jai Satchidanand, everybody.
Jai Satchidanand.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for interacting very well. It is my observation that whenever there is a session of Shailaben, participants are more interactive. So this is wonderful thing. Next time also, you please actively involve in the discussion. Thanks a lot. And it was really worth spending good time with you, Shailaben. Wonderful, holistic approach.
Thank you, Chandrakanji. Thank you. Everybody stay safe.
To everybody, please come back for positive attitude next time, after fortnight. Thank you. Have a very good time. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Lala.